Good morning. We start with Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga from the small booklet. From the heart of the Savior of 100 deities of Tushita, on a peak of cloud resembling a clam of extremely white fresh curd, King of Dhamma, omniscient Losandrapa, please come here together with your sons. In the sky before me, on a lion throne, lotus and moon, my perfect pure Guru smiles with delight. Supreme field of merit for my mind of faith, please abide for 100 yons to spread the teachings. Your holy mind has the intelligence that understands the full extent of objects to be known. Your holy speech with its excellent explanations is an ear ornament for those of good fortune. Your holy body is radiantly beautiful with glory renowned. To you who are meaningful to see, hear, and remember, I prostrate. Pleasing drinking water, various flowers, fragrant incenses, lice, scented waters, and so forth. Oceans of cloud-like offerings, both actually arranged and mentally emanated, I offer to you the supreme field of merit. Whatever non-virtue of body, speech, and mind, especially those opposite to the three vows that I have collected from beginningless time, I confess each and every one with fervent regret from my heart. You strove for much learning and practice in this degenerate age, and made your freedoms and richnesses meaningful by abandoning the eight worldly concerns. Saviour, we sincerely rejoice in your extensive deeds. Perfect, pure, holy Gurus, from the billowing clouds of wisdom and compassion in the sky of Dharmakaya, please let fall a rain of profound and extensive Dharma upon the receptacle of those to be subdued exactly as they need. May whatever virtue I have collected benefit the teachings and all transmigratory beings, and in particular may it cause the essence of perfect pure Losandrapa's teachings to shine forever. Sajibaki Chushing Metok Tramari Rabling Nidegembadi Sange Shindu Mikte Olwa Idrokunamdak Shila Chuparshu. By the merits of having offered this mandala to Lama Tsongkhapa and his two sons, may I, my family members, and all sentient beings be able to meet, practice, and actualize the teachings of the victorious one Losandrapa, who had a morality of eminently pure way of life, was courageous in the extensive conduct of the sons of the victorious ones, and accomplished the yoga of 2 stages of supreme bliss and emptiness. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. By the force of having fervently requested in this way, hollow beams of white light are emitted from the hearts of the perfect pure Father and Sons, and combining into one enter my crown. White nectar, the color of milk, flows from the opening of tube of white light, cleansing all my sicknesses, spirit harms, negative karmas, obscurations, and their imprints without exception. My body becomes as pure and clear as crystal. Now we recite 5-line Miktsema 3 times. Mikmet sewe terchen chenrezig dreamek yempe wampo jampel yang dupo malu jonze sawe dak kanchen kepe tsungen tsongkapa losan drape shabla solwaide. Migmet sewe terchen chenrezig dreamek yempe wampo jampel yang dupo malu jonze sawedak kanchen kepe tsungen tsongkapa losan drape shabla solwaide. Mikmet sewe terchen chenrezig dreamek yempe wampo jampel yang dupo malu jonze sawedak kanchen kepe tsungen tsongkapa losan drape shabla solwade.
Ye che dan so jun chong nung la chang chu par du dan ne kyab sun chi da gi chu shi ye bang de da ro lam pen shi sang jin zhu bar sho sang ji che dan so jun chong nung la chang chu par du dan ne kyab sun chi da gi chu shi ye bang de da gi ro lam pen shi sang jin zhu bar sho 상기 최단 소진 촌놈라 창조 발도 다네 잡순 다기 최시 예반데 다기 졸람베 상진주 버쇼 강기 도즈니 존에 따와 통제 방비처를 담비춘 된제 고담텔라 창즈로 시신 경건 자외 로드 계산다외 gen주리시 잡에 베질라메 제베 통제 잼베 돈된 라창즈 나몰하이 깨달로다 노지 주변다나 미 깨놈 로 군지라놈 치좀 탐지께도 다기 주된 또 Good morning everyone. 네. Yep. 쇼프딜레
So like
캔즈 volunteer라 체크한도 하스라 간줄 참만드슬라다.
so I think the volunteers are enjoying tea, but it seems we don't have this.
You see all volunteer they have tea. no, no. 이제 아니 제와틴디 가정이만 페시 코나데 제와치 티상한지 제월렌자야 말아주지. 요 캐런들 페이베스라. 대는 그냥 저디 연자지 들어지. 아니 셴버스를 저야 나니 저 찍된 나는 간저 런리시 조스라.
Yes. So it seems there was one question which we couldn't cover in the previous session. So you may ask that question again, and if there are any other questions, we can also discuss on that.
during meditation.
Yes, hello. Thank you, Geshe-la.
Yeah.
My name's Hayden. Sorry I had to leave last week. So my question last week was around refuge.
Refuge, yeah.
So I'm curious. Guess I'm just curious about what refuge is, and also, yeah, sort of the link between mentorship and how refuge correlates to mentorship, and if it does. So I'm not sure if it does or not. So, yeah, thank you.
Ada, you have some questions? Of course.
Hello, Geshe-la, boss, dad, boss, dad, teacher, Geshe-la. I actually have a few questions. Oh, and Shopatelek Tutumla Nakomi. I have a few questions regarding the Bodhisattva vows. So yeah, there's a few because I'm breaking these vows every day, and I have a sore neck now. I have to, you know, I have to retake the vows every day and do prostrations. So in the 46 branch number 1, it says daily you have to you do offering, prostrations, praises, and meditate on the qualities of the Buddha. I was wondering how long I should meditate on this every day. How long? And then so again 46 branch number 2 it was about greed and dissatisfaction, that we shouldn't follow this, but I sometimes have problem with hunger. So I feel hungry and I want to eat food, but I feel like it's sometimes I like food. I'm eating because I like it more than I need it. So I was wondering, how can I give this up? You know, just drink water instead, clean water. And then there was again 46 branch number 8. Ignoring, belittling, not forgiving, and not helping those who have broken their moral discipline. I was wondering if this is towards people who has taken the vows, or am I doing this to everyone, like everyone that I meet? And also same as number 16, when you're correcting deluded actions of others by pointing out their negative habits, am I doing this to only my Sangha, or do I need to do this to everyone? And also number 22, it says about sleeping. So during the first and final periods of the night, I was wondering what time that is. Is it better? Because sometimes I study late and then I get up early, but I feel a bit tired. Is it better if I sleep early and then get up early? I don't know. Yeah. For now, and there's more to defend. Thank you to Tunla.
근데 티베트 들으시게 됐던 게 티베트 정보 줘라.
Ore.
Tiwa tambuti ne chamru ki kola ne ngoto chiruchis ta chamru suna kharre churo. Tida anzo semgi kange to tewi kabla tida chamru paru lam dewa khari yures. Semla kange to semla kange to tindi chuna. Ani tida ta anzo chamru ki paru dewa dewa khari yurti kari pingiri to sigi jira. Ti tangi tiwa tambuti dirisha. Tanda tiwa nipa jora. Tiwa nipa di tanda kasi chanju sembege domba lembara. Tida tiwa ichoki tindi tiwa dindi ins. Ani tanda di nanglo le tiwa chik di di nanglo le tanda ninta ani dus titolo komja gore samantang gore tindi chitus titi tuzu ringle katsu sto chik komja samantang gore tindi chik bu yores. Ani nipa dila tanda tat peche shana tas sepa da tindi mambu chik dogo ya tindi kola keji shik dusra. Samri sari mora tanda 저것 또 이렇게 그냥 클래스하고 되게 책으로 삼삼리 다 클래스에 좀 고고기 왕기 사야 되는 용거라 삼삼 고고 멤버지 다 산이吹지 양 롤레세 또 산이吹는 거 사대 줘라 되는 용거도 지난 디 컨디스
Dire.
디 컨디스 또 고레스 아니 디 월라 샴바직 카틀나 탄다 아니 월라 pecheshana mi shenpa ki kyun yoba yinsuna dila kyun dus laji paa takalawar seshi che gori tenda uchi dus di chanju senpi ki domba len tsangi kansa di chibula ko gori yana suzu mi su tuba yana pagi la kyun yoba yinsuna an di paa di che gori res ane tama dila tanda ane di waki namgi chatume la minyewa nenjo la tsomba seji yorwa 디 kapsula tamorain samsamaya samri yan chik lopchon rochi chibupe digis di yan shopanga o langko na tes kale kabo chagi dusra di di tuzuro di tata kande shana ka yuris.
Tangi 당보 다 가지니 거 계시 티바 인자. 아니 저 당보들 링크 투두치. 아니 슈 아니 되니 두스 총바나 안 계란 될이야. 아니 이 렌치 쇼스로 렌 저니 바텔라.
Yes. So first I'll try to answer the first question because it's kind of long overdue. And then if time permits, we'll go to the next question.
야. 대다치당기 단다 캠로티 다치 넘버 음 지기 아니 가르쳐 다치 아니 상무당당디 시기여라스 라 넘버야 슈비 고로디 아니 캠드로 토니 문제 지기여레스
When we talk about refuge, from the context of Buddhism, a refuge should be understood as a kind of entryway to the path of Buddha.
디 단다 캡추사기 율로 디 카르레슬란디 아니 단다 간주 되는데야 상지추 겐든 숨들이야 아니 캡추니 아니 르케니 아니 이치치 베나 아니 람든 슈니 아니 람든 카리여바다 디시종 기타직 아니 상루탄 조기인세 켈렌체저로스 디 더 로디 딘디지 차고레스
And going for refuge means we are basically entrusting our well-being to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha are the object of refuge. So we go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and pledge to kind of act in accordance with the guidance of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha.
These are the delay capture slam the capture cap to read the maris hedgerada cap to maris and carry chani capgures ro but dindi daji tele mambuji tone teni camdrin rodanti and the similar rat travel cooked us ra mado richi ge 지 camdro chegors lavdi ta 지 소수 자와 용수 줘봐 지 열어다 용수 줘봐 데 피길라 봐 아니 산지치 겐드선라 봐 땡고야 소러지게 아니 상루 땅바이나 고디랑 레몬도스 당원이 지 르킹이 지 그도 초거 되네야 피기 camdro 고된로디 아니 디레몬도스 따라
So when we talk about going for refuge, we also need to understand why we are going for refuge to these three objects. And by going to refuge, what are we expecting them to kind of to kind of protect us from what potential kind of dangers are we expecting them to protect us? So in the context of going for refuge, it's crucial to understand these points. So sometimes people tend to think that when we say we go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, they tend to understand that now we kind of entrust our entire kind of activities towards the hands of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. However, that is not the intended meaning. So therefore, it's crucial to understand by going for refuge, what are we kind of supposed to do?
아니 캡중긴기 가리기체도 캡주요래 캡주사디 가리리 껴그레세디 디 문제 제투고야 되다 아니 캡주 까블야 아니 캡주 까블야다 nenga 체슈디 아니 디차고요레스
So when it comes to the refuge, the two kind of most important thing that we must understand is that why we are going for refuge and from what are we seeking kind of protection from.
단다 반덴 다와 타바기 송지기요레더라 아니 디 이게 the sewu shoji pe tache jawadi ane sangi chodan gendun ne tarban doban namki caps disong yores the dig sewu shoji ro sangi chodan gendun ne tarban doban namki caps lawandi tarban dönging the dunghara gyodan chebale tarban dönging ki kansa jigin bayna ane sangi cho gendun somla ya capchu gogres 산지추 겐드숨레야 캡추바야나 캐나 둥하르 gyötan chebale tar tuyagi tab shinji malobadi kongi ten yores taro ten yore tini ragres ta
So with regard to that, Chantakriti has made a very powerful statement where he says that Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha is for those who seek liberation. So if you are someone who is seeking liberation from the bondage of suffering, then you must go for a refuge to Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. So therefore, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha um, is for those who wanted to get rid of the bondage of suffering.
tadi kanta jingores laundi 캡 템버포 아니 상기기다 아니 간줄이야 람든 지체요레스 람든데 가르스는 땅 간주 인지 샘컴당 tumbasen namandu nganzu semkam shizung toni nganzu lingi gi lole ya chik samlu shizung toni nganzu le ya lamdin chi yora sira semkam nganzu lingi gi samlu di karres laundi devan debata dungar mun debat nganzu samma chikba chikgyur yimba terasa devan degu yobata dungar degu mebayna nganzu dungar sebi gi ani tabji kogodo asira dungar sebi gi tab 나 대화 드립이 탑지고 거다. 디 탑을 신지 말로 봐. 디 아니 상기 기타 송망로야. 다 신지 말로 봐 송요레스 들어.
Mhm. So Buddha has taught a kind of a path or a teaching that is in tune with our fundamental aspiration of wanting happiness and not wanting suffering. So we all want happiness and we do not want suffering. And if we want happiness, what are the means of achieving the happiness that we seek? And if we do not want suffering, what are the means to overcome that? So therefore, Buddha taught the means and method, or Buddha taught the path to achieve the happiness that we seek and the path to the method to overcome the suffering that we do not want.
대단한수 대화 되고 요 동안 되고 요 말에 동안 되고 요 말되네야. 갑갑라 간수 동안 되고 요 말되네야. 동har디 가리임 받데 딱딱 문진 체마토야. 대화 되고 요르되네. 디기 응마디 가리임 받디 문진 체마토치니 간수 아니 동안 태대야. 아니 대화 라드야. 디자시자다 간수 미제나 연구 요러 왔어.
So, although we don't want suffering and we seek happiness, we want happiness, but sometimes because of not recognizing the happiness that we seek and not recognizing the suffering that we want to overcome, we ended up with more suffering.
당간수 디기 슬라운 디기 지 칠로기 율소르지 아니 지 롱제야기 아니 롱주 토라 예비 소르지기 샘나라다 망체 딜레기 열어서 딘자 디기 고고요지 아니 지 롱주 드비야디 개침부 쇼지를 지지 아니 롱주 카즈스 정바이나야 아니 디기 마라니 강한 체딩이다 잠블레나 미망시로 디차기 열어서
Sometimes we tend to think that happiness comes from material things. So therefore, we try to achieve more material success by thinking that material success is the only way of achieving happiness. However, in the world, we can see that despite of gaining immense success in the material world, people still face lots of dissatisfaction and unhappiness.
디지 디기 더 디기 세디 디레모 디기 세디 데와다 둥허 세디 아니 샘그 서로와직 샘그 서로와직 레샤스 라
So what we can understand from this is that happiness does not really come from material success, but happiness and suffering or sadness is a state of mind.
더 샘그 서로와 디야 샘그 상로 당당지기 토니 조디 상로 당당지기 토니 연구열 마도 아니 치기 요기 아니 주 조디 치기요 말레스 치기요 말레스라
So, since happiness is a state of mind, we must seek happiness from within, and external things or material things does not really um, uh, serve as the primary cause of happiness.
다 지 샘, 다 양다바, 샘 양다바, 어머나 샘 신주 말로바지. 아니 지 아니 샘 개침부지 깨투바이나 아니 미델라 서로 대화 얘기하래스. 라 아니 지샘 부수 도부 샘 신주로 샘 마롱하지 뇌스밀라 소바 딘디지 얘기인 바이나 아니 미델라 소 둥가 용거래스. 디 당간주 메제 나올이야 냠뇽 토로 소스 상로야 우치 담바이나 덴덴간주 라트투야 또 여러와스라.
So, from our own experience, we can, in fact, see that if our mind is kind of if we could not cultivate positive state of mind, and if our mind is not kind of open, then we ended up with more suffering and dissatisfaction. On the contrary, if we cultivate positive states of mind, and so on and so forth, then that will lead to more kind of happiness.
베나 간주 두스 루루지 대원디 안상마 찍바 인 삼삼로지 아니 직수 통나야 찍 디기 연댕기 촌 레비 촌이 삼당 투바이나 아니 딩냠도 데비린라 아니 샘나올이야 데부 용거로 왔으라 다지 소수 틀레 예비 미디 안지 게 아니 견소로지 때 안지 미디 마르브 소로지 톤 삼당 바이나 아니 기부분도 왔더라. 그래서 근데 추수직 대비린이야 기부요 말했어. 디피기 대화도 동아디 랑기 삼로 땅땅 코나라 라리 대바지 마도 파쇼말라 라리 바지 싸우니니 차기요 말았어.
So, for instance, as we discussed earlier, happiness and kind of suffering or dissatisfaction is purely largely based on our state of mind. And for instance, when we kind of, spend some time together, for instance, for 1 hour duration, if we focus more on the negative side of the people that you spend time with, then we ended up with more suffering. But on the contrary, if we started to focus more on the positive side of that person, the positive qualities of that person, then that will bring more happiness.
디낭싱기 다지 먼저 다 근데 착선 숙천부 레온디 데마츠와지 데는 기부면 용거라스더라. 디낭싱기 콩르그 상로디 여세베젤라 근데 칼라지 사나야 좋아메바지. 근데 마기버 초라디 간줄 레고라. 야채야도 말 레고라서라.
And when one particular negative emotion is very strong and manifests in our mind, that will somehow disturb our peace of mind. For instance, where there is so much kind of attachment or so much kind of anger in you, then even if you are having food, that will also kind of obstruct us to enjoy the food.
다 딘티게 착당기 로디야 디간주 균댕 삼로 땅고에 개치지직디 착당기 로기온디 아니 착당기 로기사 그 율디게 즉 ukchile kenza lo kesa ki yul tigi ani chi netse jora ta bigi in tseshi jora gyacha gyatamba tseshi korang tola shatuguyo maresta amana tseshi li gewa amana tseshi li ma ani mawa zero gangwa le de ayrochi ra dinti ji tatsu ji toni ani chagdang lodi ani degyo ras ra
So when we have kind of attachment or aversion towards a particular object, that will somehow that will hinder us to perceive that as it is. For instance, if we have strong aversion towards a person, then we will somehow kind of denigrate the quality of that person. And on the contrary, if we have attachment towards a particular object or person, we kind of superimpose even more qualities than that object in fact possess. So we can't see the objects as it is.
da dinti ki tseshi li gewa omana tseshi li mawa ani tonya di karso da ji ani lamga da masum na karig toni te wansila di ani mumbo marig bi wangi kanji piki nelu la ya shinjulo du shugbi lo dinti ji ki wangi ani chagdang lo kigi yores ra nelu la mombi marig bi wangi chagdang lo ki ani chagdang lo ki ani di wangi lega chiongdi 다 딱딱 제토고 말았어라. 간선 그게 담보 거래 새 작사 거래 새 너르대디 아니 새 너교지 간이야 내가 가르쳐 봐는 pen 아니 감바기 없는다 pen 멘다기 없는다 새 너사위 제라 피기도 너르지마도 단디버지 연구 말았어라. 어 디나신지 순거다 마리비 왕기 착당기 왕기 자와 가르치기 바이냐 아니 자와 너교지마도 아니 자원 드리버지 제투고요 말이에요. 자원 만드리고 갈 텐데 아니 소 동아 들레고라다. 텐데 소 마기와 들레고라. 자원 드리버이나 내가 갖두는 드리버지 존나 소바 대화지 레고다. 디고 취니레스.
So, for instance, when we have attachment towards an object, we exaggerate the quality of that object. That kind of exaggeration is yet again caused by ignorance. And because of ignorance, we tend to exaggerate the quality of that object. And because of that, we kind of we tend to have remain attached to that object, and with attachment, our whatever we kind of decisions we make, whatever activities that we engage, that will also become problematic because that action is based on a faulty assumption, and if the measurement is wrong, then whatever we build, it will also become a problematic. So similarly, because of ignorance, we tend to exaggerate the qualities of that person, and based on that exaggerated quality, then we act, which later also becomes a problem. So when there is when our action does not align with the reality of truth, then yet again we ended up in suffering.
딘자다 동거기 싸워디 아니 착당라 투여봐 착당기 싸워디 아니 최남기 내루 인루 디라야 아니 몽비기 로여왕기 용구여봐 디 디 남자디 상기 송여러모도 셴박이 시기요 말아서라 Tinzata dunghar ngoni dunghar pangogiyo na dunghar gitsawa chagdang pango dos. Chagdang pangbala chagdang gitsawa mariba pango dos. Mariba pangbala chö namgi nelung tongo dos eti. Chö namgi nelung tongo di mariban gagadu, mariban gagondi chagdang gagadu, chagdang gagondi ani chagdang ongi chawa norya cheya di garugudu. Teni dewa mado dunga yungu mundu seg lamdyon di sanjig na yor mado jambasuji na yor marwas.
So therefore, Buddha taught that because of attachment and other afflictive emotions, we ended up suffering. And that kind of negative emotions, such as attachment and aversion, are primarily caused by fundamental ignorance. So if we wanted to get rid of suffering, we must get rid of the afflictive emotions. And if we wanted to get rid of the afflictive emotions, then we must uproot, or we must get rid of the fundamental ignorance, which is the root cause of all this problem. So it's only Buddha who taught this process of how to get rid of the suffering, how to achieve happiness. And since suffering is caused by afflictive emotions, which is yet again primarily caused by fundamental ignorance. So by eliminating the afflictive emotions, we will be freed from suffering. And by eliminating the fundamental ignorance, we will be able to eliminate the other secondary afflictive emotions that are primarily caused by fundamental ignorance. So therefore, by eliminating fundamental ignorance, then we won't encounter any more suffering. So this process of achieving happiness and eliminating suffering is the path taught by Buddha.
Tadiri dichidi tanganzu dunghar likyop gowanda dunghar likyop di dunghar gitsawa mariba sebi seba di ta di yimba di ta rigbe drup chogundu silamna lab chogundu asara. Tinza kyab ngudi ani chö sangi chö de res la yores. Chö de kares la dunghar gitsawa nimu sebi seba di chö sha yores. Di kyab gogundu sta nimu mariba sebi seba di chik machong pardu ani dunga gyumuchedu yungu yoba di chagayanza mariba sebi seba di gita dunga likyob gu du set. Tenza mariba sebi seba rangila ani chik yongya di tablam tengin di ani sangi chagayanza ani sangi di kyab tenpa borees. Tukchilamde sangi da chö di ani chik laya kyab chö na ngoni chik dewa raya yobagi ta riglamji yores ro.
So here, when we talk about different levels of suffering and the means and methods of eliminating that suffering, so if you want to eliminate suffering, we must attain the total cessation of suffering. So therefore, the true Dharma is identified as the kind of total cessation of suffering. If you wanted to eliminate suffering, if you do not want suffering, then we must attain the total cessation of kind of afflictive emotions or total cessation of suffering. So therefore, it is only the kind of true Dharma, which is the cessation, that could protect us from all this suffering. So long, unless we could actualize this state, unless we could attain the total cessation of afflictive emotions, we won't be able to completely free ourselves from suffering. So therefore, the cessation is identified as the true Dharma. And then the Buddha is identified as the teacher who could kind of show us the path. So therefore, through this kind of understanding, we can infer that by going for refuge to Buddha, who show us the path, and by attaining the cessation, we will be able to, or there is a way to eliminate suffering in its entirety.
다 산기기 온숨도 시기 요래 데리스 람든 난그 요르데 이네야 당간졸아야 지 빵다우 소르지 빵보 소르지 다 고기 요라서라 근데 팀강은 저와이나 미디비 미치글란 팽고 콜이야 빵다기 간사 니바지 고고라다 니바디 무슨 통행 년 통송스 빵보 지용데다 팀강은 걸린 지겨 나신기 아니 냠뇨 요행기 간사 숨바디 겐든세드레스 로 domballe ani pigi sangi ngotoba nanshingi ani jondar chin nyon thendingi kansa delya gende segores dig pangbo chen sangi ngusung ani chöd ngolasha ani gendeng pangbo chen disumla tenda ngone thani gi lamden shinju maloba chena rani dungal thadug yobadi ani pangbo de chiballe ondi ta disum di ani capture sag yulreshas oh get mendo.
Okay, so in order for, although Buddha has taught the path, but in order for the practitioner to kind of engage in the practice, we must have some kind of a witness. For instance, if we bring some issues in the in the court, then the victim might make a statement, but we must have a witness to kind of support that case. So similarly, the Sangha or the spiritual community is the witness for what Buddha taught. They are engaging in the path, and they are kind of practicing the path. So the Sangha community or the spiritual community could be our assistance on the path by applying the Dharma, which was taught by Buddha. So in that way, by going for refuge to Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, we will be able to free ourselves from the bondage of suffering.
rada kyab ngudi ani chödri chöd kharesdi nyumu sebi sebad res lawandi ani tat tanganzula thara tobalerda nyumu se yorveset nyumu se yorveset sangi nyumu sebi sebad digita kera dungal ngus kyogre sondi nyumu se yorves lawandi nyumu se yan dus gendeng pangbo chechen sangi tenshabi tapti 냠슬레니 니 뇽아 텐송스 빵부치 거라 다라 뉴무세바두스 뉴무세 온디 자차 자담바 텐도 데와 시위 데와 라기두스 다 빵부치 거레스 틴자 산지추 겐두스um 디타 온네 단니기 동갈이 깨비 깨블라나 메바디 디스브레샤스 뉴물레 타르바 동갈레 타르비 다 아니 텐도 데위 공방라야 그 등인기 동갈이 껴붙은 다 디스브레샤스 어디선 거랬어?
Um, so the true Dharma is identified as the kind of total cessation of afflictive emotions. And if the total cessation of afflictive emotion is identified as the Dharma, then the question is, how can we know that if it's kind of, how can we know the possibility of attaining that state? How can we know that afflictive emotions could be completely eradicated? So in that, the Sangha come into play. Sanghas could be the witness to say that to kind of to kind of corroborate this statement where it is possible to completely eliminate afflictive emotions. So just as Buddha taught, they engaged in the path, and then by engaging in the path, the Sangha community could still further validate that it is possible to completely eliminate afflictive emotions. So therefore, by going for refuge to Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, we will be able to completely eradicate afflictive emotions and attain the total cessation.
This the Yatama talk chair the Karas, the Numu Sego Yoba, Numu Pango Yoba, talk chabatres. Dunga Dugio Marta, Dunga Dume, Deva Gogiova, Numu Pangoet, talk chores. The Numu Panyala, Lelawingoma, the Numumbi Wangi, Lungak Nieju Rabajora. Lungak Nieju Rabat Pachu Domatuna, and in Nieju Rabat is our Numuti, and it is Karsadi, and it Katu Mewanza, Tongma Delaya, Lungaki Wangi Chongwe, and Kaza Numumbi Wangi Chongwe, and Lungaki Nieju Rabati. And Kago do slang, the Dombalan said, Kamdu Dombalan said, that so there is.
So now, after realizing that, we must kind of eliminate afflictive emotions, and then the question is, how can we do that? So, in order to completely eliminate afflictive emotions, first we must refrain from engaging in the negative actions of body and speech caused by afflictive emotions, or rather motivated by afflictive emotions. So, in order to protect ourselves from indulging in negative actions, we take vows of refuge. So vows of refuge is all about protecting ourselves from indulging in the negative actions caused by afflictive emotions.
This one, the any consciousness like Japsundroni, and Kellen Chini, any Janet Sewa Pango is. Janet Sewa Pango is. Songra.
So there are several precepts that we abide by taking the vows of refuge, and one of which is to refraining from causing harm to others.
The Janla Sewa, Janla never Jedan Cheba, any Dombina Dombas Lavanza, Janla Nuyagi, any Shik Honey Ungris Lodi, Lunga Yisung Tony, any Janla Nubi Chavagi, Chavad Ligorasra, Pena Lugoni, and Chig Shangi Sola Neba, and Chig Shanlaya, that any Zawanchela Soba, and Nagoni, Piggy Chig Shangi Sam Gomlaya, Poyagi, and it's sick Dugjalavia. And it's Samlaya, and it Nusung Sambakiel Soba, and did Dongo Grace. Did Dongo Grace, there are did chat Kazo that Zengachinta, any Domchini, Domba de la Domba Segores, there are.
So by taking the refuge vows, if we were to refrain from indulging in negative actions, how can we do that? So we first must refraining from indulging in the negative actions of body, speech, and mind. So through our body or physical actions, we must refrain from causing direct harm to others through our kind of bodily actions. Then through our speech, we must refrain from speaking harsh or harsh words towards others that may inflict kind of pain towards others. And then third, we must refrain from causing, we must refrain from harboring malicious thought, evil thoughts towards others. So by taking the refuge vows, we must try to refrain from engaging in the negative actions of body, speech, and mind.
다들다 룽아가 니저 돔고야 쪼디 당연히 상그라 아니 지 가진 제초고 말했어요. 로 니 가진 측디 니 배주 제초고 말했어. 파쇼몰 끼언 등이 가진 끼언주 제초고 말했어요. 근데 용구요라다. 뭐 장부 삼당 와이나. 수수기 디기기 체도 미션라 둥하 때야기 톱당 등한줄 요 말아왔어. 수수기 디기 줍초거리 수수기 둥하 세조거리 이내 수수기 대와 드려도 수수 둥하 세야기 체도 젠라 둥하 때야기 톱당 디요 말데 장부 말아왔어. 간지 딘자 아니 룽아가 니저 도미야디 장부가 람지기 토니 시고랬다.
So when we talk about refraining from engaging in the negative actions of body, speech, and mind, so we might wonder why it is wrong to, for instance, criticize others. So the question is that, of course, we all have the every right to seek the happiness that we want and to kind of overcome the suffering that we do not want. But in this process, we do not have any right to inflict kind of inflict harm to others or cause suffering to others at the expense of one's own happiness. Even if you do that, it's not fair to kind of seek happiness that we want or avoid the suffering that we do not want at the expense of others' suffering.
근데 느슴 장기 봐나. 느슴 장기 봐나. 갑툭 대마탁도 술 뉴스는 소설 뉴스라서 간선 소설 기부 차가 말다. 느슴 가주스 여바나. 디릴라 캐랑 셈바 기부 여 말다. 간지 소둥할 얘기래스. 펜섬 가주스 기투바나. 캐랑 셈데 디부인 거래스. 디지디기다 아니 자와 마타와 마롱와 느슴라 소바 디기 아니 셴라 먹어 랑라야 무스 뉴기여 반자 다 제일 마롱에 지ren다 제 무고에 지ren다서
So, for instance, if we harbor malicious thought, evil thought towards others, it will directly kind of destroy the peace of our own mind. Whether it could actually hurt others or not is a different question. But by harboring such negative thought, it will immediately disturb our own peace of mind. So therefore, if we wanted to kind of eliminate that suffering, we must also stop harboring such malicious thought. But because by harboring such evil negative thoughts, it will directly disturb the peace of our own mind.
디즈다 겸주기 고든 아니 캡슨 조당 어디디지 심비토니 따지 아니 겸주기 삼바 야부지 여바나 셈감 마데발야 펜야데도 야시 야단 바레스 야치 야단 바레스 랍초거스로
So by recognizing the significance of going for refuge and by understanding the process, if we if we implement or if we put that into practice, then definitely it will help if we encounter some sort of mental issues.
다기 라우스스 캐런 저디 톨랑이 직 세시 제거로 기
Yes.
하응알라다니 시초스
So I hope this has pretty much covered the the question that you asked. If there are still anything else that you want further elaboration, then you can ask again.
No, no. 어디다 딘자 다 tuksa tsodi maribala tukdasara maribala ta maribi wangi teni dosha kigyore kala samogona sandi kigyore ra niku magona dele maha kunde ta sama maribala tukdasara.
So the point is that the ignorance is the root of all other sufferings, and because of ignorance, all other afflictive emotions arise, and because of such secondary afflictive emotions, then we ended up eating if we do not really need to eat. We ended up sleeping even though we really don't need to sleep.
띵한 상황지 버라더라 딘자 딘자다 피기 니룩 장야디 라 니룩 장야디 하장 계신부 니룩 장투 봐야나 아니 남주 배고랬다 남주 배고랬어 로 갸기 투고랬어 로 부스 덕부 디 용요 말했어.
So in that respect, it's really important to try to understand the reality of the truth. So by attempting to realize the truth, it will help us to kind of widening the horizon of our intellect, and which will make our mind more open.
테니 자비기 빼는 잔주 선비 동받다 시야온디 아니 지 아니 세 이게 삼마초야기 틴디기 가르스거다 쇼지기 빼 소더그 동반난시 요 말레스 소더그 동반다만 또 치료카세디 까요로 와서라 치료카세 까요라 잔주 선비 동반난로야 치료카세 삼 마초스 틴디기 까요 말레스.
So far as the Bodhisattva vow is concerned, the precept regarding the food is not as strict as the precept of individual liberation precept, because by taking the individual precept, you're not supposed to take a dinner after lunch. You're not supposed to eat any raw food after lunch. But so far as the Bodhisattva vow is concerned, there is no direct kind of precept which prohibits the practitioner to taking dinner or eating after lunch.
인바이나야 따지 잔주 셈비고 동발렌치 잔주 셈라야 로장인지 인바이나 하장기 빼 아니 리버상부 고야디 개첨부 쇼차가 와레스 즉 로종기 따지 세도시아바나 아니 세 토슈디 로종 제거에 차가도서라 딘자 리버상부고 리버상부 마용이야기 찍디 남주 칼라 하장 세 대바이나 아니 찍 수부자가 차야라 소바 아니 녀도 차야라 소바 사돈도 찍 건다 치우 아니 칼라 망부세는 녀바이나 아니 쇼기 니 세바이나야 찍 데스 찍 망체질이야 아니 즉 륜컴 당부 매야 된지 아니 륜컴 당부 매디 로종 제나야 아니 시마투야 딘디 용관자 아니 드조 최림부 씨는 로투바나 야시야담바 펜도 용거레스.
So therefore, if you are someone who is practicing the Bodhisattva path, the clarity of the mind is really important, and the clarity of mind comes from our dietary habit. So for instance, if we if we take a very heavy dinner, then in the next morning we might feel very heavy, very lethargic, and even if we get up early in the morning, we still don't feel fresh. There is so much kind of heaviness, and which will obstruct to attain the clarity of the mind. So therefore, it's really crucial to take a proper kind of a diet, so that we could have more clarity of the mind in the next morning.
다지 konda des chis deada shogin as lanya di chitang chani shewanada 다양 검시 슈 태댕이지만 콘네스 로가라 모두 찌땅 간주 lunkham gun rodang chani shebayna yaga yunguyosares kaisana pena shoging awu nganzu ta ani gom gyayari 지 lobjong ting sabu chiundi ani 지 semba di ani net gogodo asara semba net gorata semba manni yagi kenchig de nganzu le thangbo wala ya ani 지 아니 치기 아니 가서 다지 타다센센다 지 워다다 아니 달라 소바게 아니 간조 세미야 규칙이요 반자 아니 공다 치우당 아니 쇼갱가고 드니 다 미망치야디 아니 다 미츠마르다 지 소차 망치야디 코 쿠스무치니 데비 갑 키고요 반자 디갑라 아니 랑기 셈디 gom gyasa na gom jig yula pa ne tuya da lobjon chige na lobjon chisa yula pa te tuya gi ani tyutsog chani yagbu chaganza ani konda chiu dan shogi ngawo lana yagbu yar sa de pe nenga din sa res ra
Um, so unless we have already developed a habit of kind of staying late or getting up late, usually getting up early in the morning is preferable for doing meditation or even studies, because the whole purpose of meditation is to attain stability of the mind, and early morning and late nights are usually considered conducive for meditation, because during that time, it is quiet where everybody is probably taking rest. So when there is the external kind of environment is quiet, it will naturally help us to maintain the stability of mind. Otherwise, if we hear some noise outside, it may cause distraction. So therefore, getting up early in the morning or meditating when it is quiet usually help us to gain more stability of mind.
pena sanji chomden di thoma ngombo zoba sangi tüdi torang türes torang tülaya ani ngombo zoba sangi ores love ores ra 디 야자자도 못 nenga yosares 랑간주 토랑 그 뒤디 뒤 거랑 그 차니 아니 지 가서다 종아디 종시디 찬냠비 그 뒤저지 그래도 답변은 니마야 샤사디기 아니 랑신 그때지 아니 가서다 지 드라그 소르지 다 드라랑다 요마다 짜지 아니 신신 소르지 다 야자야 요르와서라 쇼킹하고 추츠 다 숨바 야멜야 아니 따단 하정게 종한테 찬양부여레스 찬양부 드니야 남베드스 니마샤원디 드니 롱이나 슈체드야 가리네 지금 도하다 지겨라 토랑 뒤디 하장기 치 종한찬이 냠부 디치원디 간주 아니 룰니비 종한테 찬양부 디냐원디 아니 샘강데 찬양부 샘강 찬양부 지기 토니 아니 삼로지 담바이나 아니 람상 고니야다 아니 샘을 세우차도야지 딘디 또 기트니 아니 니무다 직시지도 봐서 람상 빠야 아니 ngombo 상기세 땡땡들 고야직도 요래서라
So if you look at kind of Buddha's kind of biography, you would read that he got enlightened. He attained enlightenment in the early morning. So the significance of that statement is that early morning is a time that is conducive for meditation because that time the external elements are in harmony. For instance, if you wake up around 3 a.m. in the morning, you would find that the external elements are really kind of in balance. So when the external elements are in balance, that will help to maintain balance in the internal elements as well. And when the elements are in harmony, or when the elements are in balance, this will automatically help us to attain or maintain the stability of mind. So through these, ultimately, it will help us to eliminate the negative thoughts and attain the cessation. tanda shenpa chikdi toki tanda mi shenpa ki ta kyun yoba ina di kyun tendo chiguri siyada chigiwa. Di chanchu senpi domba lenki ki kansa chibu la lagu yorwe yana sosu ki nyamli chigiwa mi su ki kyun tona andus ko laguri la ichira chiga dirish.
다 디치단 디케제 디 베게게 산지기 최종 찍으려면도 왔으라 오스트레일리아 팀라야 도왔어 디케제디 아 다 임바이나야 지 아니 고바당 가샤다 고발라야 따고야디 에 케침부려도 왔으라 랑다 셴 참만돌라야 아니 네비 시침부 결국 여봐나 아니 대마타도 랍고야지 라 피기 생기 견주비 갑둘라 아니 개체슈직디 랑기 샘트 만투와직지 벤난 콘드르 샤만트 마케와 어머나지 아니 착단 초롱 딘디기 온도 마송바 지 아니 원네 단니기 펜삼지 건일라니 아니 생기 견디 아니 견상 제투고 임바나 아니 펜도 자신무진 거레스 다야 피기레 견 여바 견 여번 통화 짬지기 파쇼말에 께 예비 니바만 도와스라 간저 샘디 아니 차당기 통네 때온디 아니 약부디야 약부 마힘반 통스기로 와서 독자디야 약부 임바지 통스기로 와서라 된서 통마디 랑기 샘디 아니 짱마치 공롱이나 짱마치 되니치 심주기는 첸된 체지네 아니 디스 드로바이나 아니 펜도 요레스타디 이 잔주 샘비 dombayo 이 지구 계자 말했다 들어.
So, so now with regard to the other question regarding pointing others' mistake, so this this kind of thing is not discussed not only in Buddhism but also in the it is quite same with the Australian kind of law as well. So when you are going to point out someone's mistake or even criticize, it's really important to consider the pros and cons of that action. So if other person is engaging in a negative act that will directly cause problem to others, then we must kind of do so. We must point out. But when we point out others' mistake, it's really important to set up a kind of check one's own motivation. We must not kind of point out others' mistake out of anger, hatred, and other negative actions, but we must do so with pure motivation of helping others. And then another thing is that just because we sometimes see mistake or faults in others does not necessarily mean that there this fault and shortcoming in others, sometimes we ended up seeing kind of, problems as a good thing, and sometimes we see good thing as a bad thing, and so on, so forth. So the point is that just because we see problem or we see issues in others does not mean that it is actually there. So the point is that whenever we're going to point out someone's mistake, first it's really crucial to check one's own mind, whether it's clear or not, whether it is biased or not, whether it is influenced by negative actions or not. And secondly, it's really important to kind of check thoroughly of what we are going to say is truly, true or not.
기체슈직다 생기 견져발라 더 견레스니 디 치지요 말 견레스 라발라 토마 소소디 견디 마코바 셰고야디 기체부지 셰고레스다 라 소소 딘티 견여멜 자원이니 상라마단지 미생기 견 종대바나 디 텔레펜도요 말디 따다 대기요 말레스
And then when we're going to point out the mistake of others, through this, it's really crucial to make sure that we kind of ourselves do not have that kind of shortcoming or do not have committed that mistake.
라다니 지 킹안즈 갑깔 수수기 지 아니 가사다 수수기 지 모시자다 수수기 나미소르지 마이나 켄디요나 파베 아니 수수 마가사다 수수 모무시바지나 켄지 통화장이 람산 켄디 링샤 딘디 다 딘디 용구여라 디 초롱레스 디 장부 차요 말했다 간지 라디 베나다 잔주sem비 동바 영이지만 데 싸워니니 체너지기요 말 동바당 게르고레스 초롱 메비톤 장부지기 톤 펜섬지기 꾸닐란 데니 에 견딜린 투와나 디기요레스다
So for someone who has taken the Bodhisattva vow, it is really crucial to have a pure motivation and unbiased attitude when you're going to point out the mistakes of others. Sometimes what happens is that if we see the same mistake committed by someone whom we know, then we may not discuss about that. But if we see the same kind of mistake committed by some other, then we may kind of make it public. So that is somehow kind of unbiased. So for someone who practices the Bodhisattva path, it's really crucial to be try to remain impartial and unbiased.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tupten, as well. So the solution to this, I want to ask, because I'm only asking because it says if you don't correct these deluded actions, you're breaking the vow. Because usually I prefer to just meditate on others' actions and reflect on it and not say anything. Or like if I feel it's going to really help this person, then I will probably use more of a skillful means and like say in a really nice way. But I was just concerned that if I don't say anything, if that is breaking the vow, yeah, so that's why I was asking. So if I could just really reflect on their actions, and if I'm reflecting on myself for the same, like a quality or habits that I might have, that I know that really helps me. Can I just stop there and
just trust that Dharma will correct it. Because I feel Dharma will correct it too. Like I never felt I have to correct anything. So I just wanted to ask that point.
Mm.
Thank you.
The Tibet Tirishagana, the Pichin Tunda the Yela Kiti Nalola, the rich era Tangila Nashi. Penamishan Bakangi Tetu, not the Robomachini Yukshata, young Gyuyobain, Gyu Majuni, Kasata, Notri Chigiyobaina, Notri de Malingna, Yang Dombatan Gagri Lach, Toa. The Chiduta, Jundiro Chiwaina, Nadu Chida Temetas Mishimagi, Juling at the Swin, Ko Gagimarwa. In Itadi Maling Suna, Yan Dombata Getu Rilarwa, Chizan Diparula Chik, Tap Keburo Chik, Kandas Chikuyanas.
Tadichidangi Ting Sabura, Ting Sabu Kandajiris Laundi, Chanchu Sempi Dombaleni, and Simjan Tamchi Gitun Chigin Cedra, Simjan Tamchi Lay Robachi, Simjan Tamchi Dungali Troyag Yalia, Robachi in Cedra. That Pigile only Gyun Sugar Yobana. Teni any the Robachi Gora, the Robert Gyun Diseva Chigora, the Tinza Tongma Pigile Gyun di Mudre Chivala Susugi Muni Pigile Zevi Sambachi Goda. Nanzu Zevi Sambachi Mena and Gyun di Munzi Gyun di Jobaina Di Dombada Gesha as a Kioma, till Dombas Kioma, the Tamushevana. Tongma Gyun Josadelia, Zevi Sambachi Goda Asra. Domba Kelani, Tambuchi, Mambuchi Samlo Madama, Kanji Chisosa Yodo Jolaya, Zevi Samba Giag, Tabshi Jora, Titolam Bezun Cheda, Yakshu Deres.
So this is rather kind of profound because when we take the Bodhisattva vow, we are basically making a pledge to work for the welfare of entire sentient being. And now to help sentient beings, if we see someone is committing a mistake, we must try to kind of rectify that with pure motivation. So therefore, the first important thing is really to have compassion towards all sentient beings, cultivate compassion towards all sentient beings. So if you try to correct the mistake without proper motivation, then it's not going to help. So therefore, before we do that, it's really crucial to check on motivation, whether it is motivated by compassion or not. So therefore, the first we must train to cultivate compassion towards all sentient beings, and then based on that, based on pure motivation, we can later, or we can kind of benefit others.
Tenijik Temata Gyun the Majobaina, and Domba Dam Mangavagi Tabshida Yochodo Asara. Kansana Susu Kantong, but the Gacha Jatamba Yimbing Eva Yomarwa. That did the Insig Mare Samsung Logic Yevaina. Gyun the Majona, same thing the Tindiki Tubana, Dombatan Gayas Kiyomarasa. Then you gyun to Yimbaji Tony, that gyun but Joe on the tap kibuj Machivaina, took dragging Yangayora, and the tablam save Kabdula, gyun to Majovaina, and Dombatan Gayas Kim to Asra. Then one day, and the gyun to Jovaina, Pajomalaya Pentova, and Tindiji Kogobjik Yobaina, and Kogob the lunch in the and gyun to Jovaina, and Yanga Kanyo Maris. Young gyun Tony, that what Karachena Chisam, Sam Lutambaina. 동바된 게그레스 르 당겨 말았어 따라 딘지기다 탑시 망보도다 인지미 긴 갑도가 저거에서 끼면도 왔어
So when we see kind of someone committing a mistake, first, even before kind of correcting that mistake, we must kind of analyze, or we must check ourselves if that's true or not. So in that process, if you think that, well, before I try to correct that mistake, or before I say this is a problem, I am going to kind of check whether it's correct or not. So that in that process, you're not really breaking the vow. And then after finding someone committing a mistake, now when it comes to correcting that, it's really crucial to be skillful. If you do not if you don't have that skillful means, even though you are trying to correcting the mistake, but it may become counterproductive. So therefore, it's really crucial to be skillful. And now, when you're going to, in fact, correct the mistake or even talking about that, you really need to see if that's going to benefit others or not, right? So it's first, your motivation is important. Secondly, we must try to be skillful. And then another thing is, sometimes even though we see mistake in others, we see someone committing a mistake, then if we see, well, I'm not going to care about that at all. And if that happens, then definitely we are breaking the vow. We should not stop caring about others. But having said that, it's really crucial to see if someone is really committing the mistake. Uh, and then once you are convinced that someone is committing the mistake, then with skillful means we must try to help others.
Thank you so much. 도전아.
Now we're going to small booklet, prayers after teachings, final Amrim prayer. From my 2 types of merits vasa space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a grand land of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of complete graded paths of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold the Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted boundless peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time, by even this graded path to enlightenment completed, due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths, never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtues practices, May he always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. And a prayer for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Incomparably kind and supreme Tenzin Gyatso, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, may you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And a prayer for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss! Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels, and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in a glory for fortunate disciples. Thank you very much. And we invite you to join us also on Sunday for Geshe-la's public teaching at 10:30, if you can. Thank you very much.